Bryn Houndar, and welcome to Zwift number 52 this time. It's the same race as I did a couple of days ago, which is the stage 1 of Makuri May, Bridges and Boardwalk, 21 kilometres, 189 metres of incline. Here's the cross section of it. We would enter in that loop on the top right hand side before the section that you can see in front of you, which is the main inclines before that section there that's in front of us that drops down towards the start finish line. So we had 42 entrants at the start. I won't say how many people finished the race at this point. What was good about tonight's ride was that I was back in the category of 210s to 330s on the Zwift racing score. I had ridden a couple of days ago in a 270 to 390 band, and I just found it too hard. So fortunately my race score dropped back down to 329, which allowed me to enter this race. So going into the race, I'm really positive about being able to compete right at the top end, because as I've just said, I'm only one inside the top end of the category. So really hoping that I can potentially podium, because I'd like to think that the Zwift racing scores gives you an understanding that the people at the front with the people with the highest Zwift racing scores in the category are likely to be the best riders. So this is the lead in, and we are not doing too bad. There's around about 25 of us, 27 I think it may have been at this point, who are all bunched together, and you can see we are literally bunched together. It's not something where you can see that we are stretched out in single file as we come towards the Boardwalk sprint, which is the actual finish line for the whole race after we completed 3 laps. So I'm in 20th position, and you can still see a number of other riders behind me at this point with 0-0 split times in all the positions. So yeah, settling in, feel okay. Average watts are at 221 at the moment, which is low for a start for me, so that's okay. I'm feeling as though I am conserving plenty of energy. I've noticed by looking at this clip here, and I'm sure it doesn't continue for long, but it's not recording any heart rates at the moment, but I'm sure that will click in. I got an aero boost initially going over that Boardwalk sprint, which wasn't ideal because I know that I've got some inclines to come, but I will manage that and see how we get on as we move forward. So I currently saw that I was there was 28 in the group there out of the 42 I said who had entered. So this is the first kicker that you can see. H Teal is just out in front of me. I'm in 4th. It's Tony Romo who's out in front at the moment. So quite a few people stretching us up over the top. I'm feeling strong. Average watts after getting out of my saddle there have increased close to the 240 mark. You get a little bit of a breather whilst you and allows you to recover after that first section before we hit this long and steady incline. So you can see we've just started out on 7 minutes, and I think we're well over the 8-minute mark by the time we get right up over the top, and there's another checkpoint up over the top. So it's whether I decide to throw my aero in going up this hill. It doesn't seem to be the best place to do it. I think I actually pop it just before we get to the next banner, which is on the top of the hill. There's a few undulations on the top. You can see there's a blue section there coming into shot, but it does undulate as we get up over the top. But you can see also that quite a few riders are going past me at this point. There's one single rider off in front, but there's a whole band of riders who are also out in front of me, and I'm pretty much at the back of this group and hanging on now. which is exactly the same as what happened in the higher category, which you'd expect. But you can see we're really stretched out. I'm hanging on. My heart rate now is showing up in the mid 160s. So it's not appearing to be the sort of race that I was expecting it to be, where I'd be pushing the pace or being able to make a mark on the race and impact on the positions. I find myself a couple of seconds back to around about 10 riders in a small group, and it's a challenge now. Heart rate's still at 160. This is still all part of the undulating section before we drop back down the other side, so it's not flattened off yet. You can see it in the mini map. We've got a 1% incline at this point. It only flickers up to 2% and down to 0, but it is still making you work hard. So this is the section where we're dropping down. So I'm hoping my 92 kilograms will allow me to keep up with the riders in front, or certainly make an impact on the riders in front. But you can see in the mini map as we go around this huge loop that they are starting to distance themselves. The riders just in front, and there's only a couple of them, are 2 seconds ahead, and then another group of riders who are a further 4 seconds ahead. So still hopeful that I can bridge this gap. You can see that I am pushing the pace hard, up over 300 watts there, just to try and catch all of these other riders. But this isn't a really good sign, because what I'd be willing to do and what I'd like to be able to do is just rest on the whole of this downhill. But I certainly had to work hard to catch hold of those riders who have just passed. But fortunately, I was still pushing hard. Heart rate was getting more into a acceptable level, which allowed me to catch up with these riders as well. One of which is Brock, who produces his own videos, and he was recording this video as well. But some riders of note are Tony Romo. He was pushing on the last incline, but we've got El Clasico as well as Andu Romoshkanu. They're 12 seconds ahead of us already, and they are also with another rider. I can't identify who that other rider is at the moment. It's just off the top of the screen. You can see it there, just off the top of the screen. So you're relying on me just getting ahead of the rider in front, and I'd be able to see who that other rider is. I might be able to update you on that one shortly. But 3 riders out in front. I'm with about 7 or 8 other riders around me, and just a couple of seconds behind we've got A Salvi and I Casello, and we seem to have distanced ourselves from them, but they are coming up quite close behind us now. Yeah, in fact you can see they're just about to bridge now. So that'll bring us up to around about a dozen riders chasing those 3 riders out in front. So you'll have seen that we've gone over that small kicker before the main inclines, which have just popped up into the mini map in the centre, and I was able to push hard. We've still got those riders out in front. The third one appears to have been Michelle Parry, who's pushing the pace as well. Also, we've got Freddie Goodhand. He's pushed ahead. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to stay in touch with these riders and look for a good finish. But as what usually happens for me when I'm going uphill, is riders will tend to go away from me rather than me being able to push the pace, especially if the incline is of any distance. And when I mean any distance, anything over about 20-30 seconds of climbing will probably mean that I'm distanced. but I'm getting up out of the saddle from time to time because I'm desperate to try and keep hold of these other riders, but it's certainly not panning out the way I would expect it to have done, with me being able to compete with the front riders. You know, I'm 13th here now, and just the rider in front is a second ahead, but you can see that that's considerable distance to catch hold of. The rest of the riders, as I started speaking just before that, were 3 seconds ahead, but now it's 6, 7, and 8 seconds ahead. So looks like it's going to be a lonely ride to 13th position for me now, as we just get through this shisha sprint, through a few undulations that I've said, which doesn't really allow you to get any recovery in. You only get your recovery in as you start to drop down the other side, which will happen when we get through that archway that you can see ahead. But you know, that gap now, you can see there's about half a dozen riders who are 13 seconds ahead of me, and I've got a gap back to Polzin of 3 seconds, but he looks like he's catching me. Hey Salvi, he's considerable distance behind us now in 21, so whether Polzin will catch hold of me and I'll be competing for 13th or 14th position will be seen shortly. So on this second lap, you can actually see now I am able to get a breather in. I've actually dropped down to 0 watts there, partly because Polzin, I think, was drafting me, and I thought, well, no, I need you to work a little bit. So I completely eased off in an attempt to just get some drafting myself from Polzin. So I did start spinning the pedals, but even then I wasn't pedaling particularly powerfully. You can see I'm only just over 100 watts, so probably riding about 1.3 watts per kilogram. But he was being quite strategic as well. He was also slowing down, trying to get back behind me. So much so that what you'll see in over the next few 100 meters is a Salvi, an Enfield, and a couple of other riders who were quite close behind, well, considerable distance behind us at this point, actually catch up really quick. So Salvi is 19 seconds behind us. Orfera, he's 22 seconds behind. So there's a group of about 4 or 5 riders, A. Kirkland as well, around about 20 seconds behind us. But we're easing off, myself and T. Polzin, but it is to our detriment. The riders in front have now created a lead of 40 seconds. Clearly we're not going to be catching them or competing with them, but I'm just thinking about this 13th and 14th position now. So we're coming up to that final kicker. We've got 5.2 kilometres behind. The gap behind us is still 20 seconds, but I'm just not trying to think about catching hold of groups. I'm just thinking about getting to the end and competing with Polzin. We've still, well, a few seconds ago, had a lead of 17 seconds, but you can see it is really coming down quick. I'm not concentrating on that gap. I turn around at this point and start looking at the gap, and I see that it's suddenly come down to 6 seconds. And if you rewind and watch the video again, you'll see that gap from 20 seconds down to 6 seconds. Probably happened in about 30 seconds, so they were going considerably faster than us at this point. And we have now got this last incline to go all the way up to the top. So rather than me thinking that I was going to compete with T poles in and see if I can get 13th position, you'll see the riders behind us will be coming up strong behind us, and ultimately it might look as though we're going to be competing with about 4 or 5 others for this position now. So that's disappointing. Didn't concentrate properly, but did feel okay. I popped the feather, as you can see, that's just finished, and I'm still able to work quite hard. But you can see there in the mini map on the top right hand corner how Teal and Offerer and Radila, they're all catching right up behind us. There goes Offerer straight past us, so I think, oh god, we've lost a position here. So Polzin goes after him. There goes Radila as well. He's pushing the pace hard, and we've still not reached the top, and I'm hanging on again. You can see that I powered up there to catch all their tails, because I'm always conscious that if I can just be on somebody's tail as we get to the top, I can use the draft going back down the other side. So 440 watts was happening about 5 seconds ago. I'm catching on with Polzin, but Polzin is also working hard to catch back hold of Hofferer, so that's positive as well. And by us working hard to try and catch Hofferer, it actually distances us from some of the riders again who are right up behind us. But I look as though I'm in no man's land again now. So there's the potential that they're going to distance themselves from me. But we are literally just heading over the top and down the hill. So I look as though I'm in a good positive position, because it doesn't look as though they're actually going to get away from me. We've got Radila just a second behind us, but A. Salvi and Thiel, they're half a dozen seconds behind us. A. Kirkland, he's dropped back to 22 seconds behind. So there's going to be a few of us competing for this 13th position. The leaders there now well out in front. There's about 4 or 5 of them still with a minute gap to us, and then there's a couple of others about 20 seconds ahead of them, and I think the leaders were even further ahead of that as well. But just working hard down the hill now, not wanting to push too far to the front, just wanting to use the draft of the other riders around me, and then just head off back down towards the finish line. Here are some of the leaders. El Clasico was already just past the finish line, so I'd actually missed them crossing the line, and we've still got 1.4 kilometres to go. So El Clasico was obviously somebody who was competing right up at the front, but they'd already crossed the line, so I missed the finish for them, unfortunately. So back to us, a kilometre to go, and this is where I decide to drop my aero and make a mini sprint, and then keep the power down in an attempt to lose the riders around me, because I can't sprint at the end. So that's what I tend to do, and if anybody watches the videos and then races against me, they know what my strategy will be. So I've got one rider out in front, Radila. He made a push for it early on. He's got a 4-second lead now. I was pulling it back, but I was also pleased to see that Polzin and Offerer weren't able to catch back onto me after I made that sprint at 1,000 metres out. So I'll just go through the top 10 positions. I was really pleased with how I got on in certain ways, but what I would say is I was really disappointed with the Zwift racing score system in regards to thinking that I would be able to compete right at the top. And I don't understand the logic if you are somebody who is riding within 1 point of the top of the category, where you're still not able to compete at the top of the race. It doesn't really make much sense. You would think, and I suppose I'm used to the weight categories and how the weight categories work, but you'd think that if you, when I used to be below 2.4 and I used to ride in the 2.4 category, I knew that if I rode at 2.4 watts per kilogram, that I would be competing right at the top end. But when it comes down to Zwift racing scores, that doesn't appear to be what happens. So it's a little bit demoralising, to be honest, because I'd like to think that when you are at the top of the category, you can compete and possibly get podiums and win races. And then there should be an expectation then that you're probably at a position where you can increase the next group. But that doesn't seem to happen, which frustrates me greatly. You know, there's other riders that have finished this race that have got better racing scores and are racing more often than me. Sorry, they have got lower Zwift racing scores, but they are able to compete with me and beat me. So I find that very frustrating that that's the case, and I don't know what to do except sulk. So here's the top 10, we'll go through it now. So after just saying what I've said, I'm going to go through the race scores, Zwift racing scores. So Freddie Goodhand finished in 34 minutes and 28 seconds. His racing score has increased up to 3:13. El Clasico, he's jumped to 3:45, so he must have been a strong rider. Andrew Romashkanu, he's was 2 seconds behind and has jumped to 3:25. Michelle Parry in fourth. He jumped up to 3:08 but was 45 seconds behind. Then Tony Romo in fifth, increasing his racing score to 3:11. Then we've got Javier Alvia in sixth, jumping his race score to 3:30. Then next is Ryan Giacomo. Then eighth was Jerome Boudal. Francesco Stefani was after that. And then my fellow YouTuber, Beeble Brock, in 10th position. So, just want to say thank you for watching. A bit rushed at the end because I ran out of video to go along with my audio, but I'll catch you all again soon. I'm expecting to ride on Monday night next, and I don't think I'll be riding in any of the stage 1 Makuri maze because I just don't like the amount of inclines there are there. So catch you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.